Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live chat, our monthly live chat that we're doing now for 33 editions, almost going on 3 years now. I can't even believe that. Wow. Anyways, for those of you joining, let me know where you're joining from in the comments so I can give you a shout out. Today's topic should be quite interesting, to say the least. I know we didn't get a chance to do our live chat earlier in the month. Usually it's on Thursdays now, first Thursdays of every month, but we are still here. And the reason I still wanted to make sure we get a chance to talk today is because of the topic, as I think it's very important, especially for us as instructors or leaders in any community. We're basically going to be talking about responsible leadership. And a couple of announcements before we get started is, one, the Empowered with Magna podcast, getting close to, actually, this is our 29th episode, was released yesterday, and it was all about the blueprint for blueprint for breakups. So if you haven't checked it out yet, Empowered with Magna, it's available on all the podcast platforms, on Spotify, Amazon, Google, Apple, and I'm not even sure what else is out there, but it's available everywhere that you listen to podcasts. I would love for you guys to go check it out and leave me a subscribe, leave a rating wherever you're at. I think only on Spotify am I actually able to see these statistics. So if you can, go check it out on Spotify too. And at the very least, leave a rating there and hit subscribe. The Empowered with Magna podcast is all about empowerment. As you know, everything that I do is about empowering all of us to be our best selves, our best versions of ourselves, to step into society, into community, into relationships, into any engagement that we are in the most powerful way that we can, with integrity, with respect, with a sense of excellence in how we show up. This monthly live chat is the same. We are here to discuss issues that I feel are important. These are issues that come up sometimes in my private lessons, in private coaching, in public speaking engagements, in workshops, in all types of interactions and engagements with other people. And although I do discuss them individually, one-on-one with people, I feel like some of these messages are worth discussing on a broader range. And since I do have a platform, why not discuss this with all of you, get your feedback, and also hopefully give you some information, something that you can take with you into your own classrooms, into your own relationships, and into your own conversations with other people. So that is the purpose. If you want to leave your feedback for these live chats, magnagopal.com/feedback, or if you just go to my website, magnagopal.com. I know I said that really quickly. My name, magnagopal.com. You can go to the contact section and you will see a link to the feedback forms. If there's anything that you want to discuss specifically, if there's a topic of interest to you, let me know in that form, as well as providing your feedback on this particular session today. But again, wherever you are joining from, let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments, so I can give you a shout out. Typically, our live chats do range across the globe. There are people here from the US, obviously, but South America, Asia, Europe, Africa, everywhere. So it's quite exciting to see everybody here. And of course, these live chats are also available as replays on my YouTube channel. That is probably the best place for you to subscribe so that you can stay up to date and also check out all of the past live chat issues. Whenever I get a chance, they do get timestamped, so sometimes they do go on for quite some time. And if they do get timestamped, you can navigate through them much more easily. A rustling noise in the audio, Elias said. Not sure if anyone else is experiencing that. Please let me know. Maybe I need to put this up a little bit differently. Could just be me breathing. I don't know. Hopefully that helps. Maybe it's a little bit better. Let me know. Always a challenge. Like this is my regular setup, and yet every single time there is something that goes wrong. Although I am trying a new microphone, so that could be it. Thank you for Elias. I hope it has been fixed. And let me know where you're from. Greetings, Wade. I know you are in the Dominican Republic right now. So greetings to you and the beautiful warm climate, which is not at all what it is like here in New Jersey. Okay, so a couple of announcements before we get into today's topic. The Empowered with Magna podcast, definitely check that out. Leave a rating. Let me know your thoughts. I try my best to get the gist of certain messages available there. So it is a very clear cut messaging on that particular topic for that episode. There's a lot of stuff that we've discussed on that podcast, from relationships, effective communication, how to be a good leader, how to navigate conflict, how to be a better teacher. There's tons of content out there. So please check it out. Leave a rating, hit subscribe, and let me know if you liked any of the episodes. There's usually questions in there as well, at least on Spotify, that you can respond to. Next announcement is I have migrated all of my courses to my own website, to my own learning management system. There are 3 new courses available. They're master classes. They're 3 to 4 hours in length of instruction, tutorials, tips, Q&As with the students, as well as observations of the students with feedback there. So if you are going through the material yourself, there might be things that you don't even realize you're doing, but through those observation sections, you will be able to identify whether you're doing that too and get those tips and feedback to apply to your own dancing. The master classes are on fundamentals. The fundamentals are all about how we step. And I'm not talking about your basic step that you learn in any classroom. I'm talking about the quality of your step, how to have the most connection with the ground, how to be grounded and balanced, maintaining your equilibrium, and having fluidity in your movement. The other masterclass is on footwork and creativity. That one is not about complex combinations, but rather taking the information that you know, understanding how to adapt it, and getting some tools for creativity with some homework assignments in there that will allow you to take what you already know, what you've already learned in that class, in that master class, or in other workshops in your past, and adapt them and work on creating your own style, creating your own footwork, creating your own combinations where you don't feel this pressure to remember a million different shines, but you will actually be able to create on the fly. And then the other one is pivots, turns, and spins. And yes, I do have a spins program, a spins technique course, as well as a mastery of multiples program, which I'll talk about in a second. But the pivots, turns, and spins is all about the technical elements that help you really take control of your spins, how to accelerate, how to maintain momentum, how to decelerate, and how to even position your feet in the best possible way so you can create precision in your spins and in your movement. And that class, again, as a master class, can apply to your entire dancing. So check those out. There is one that's going to be coming out on Musicality. I'm still in the process of editing that, but that will be available soon. You can check all of that out on magnagopal.com. You'll see the courses section at the top, and it'll show you the courses and memberships that are available there. So go and check that out. It took me quite a few months to get all of that set up, and I hope that you find it as useful as I have in creating it, but also reviewing it myself. And if you ever have any feedback, by all means, just shoot me a message through the website. Speaking of the Mastery of Multiple Spins program, that will be reopening for enrollment, most likely January or February at the latest. If you don't know what that's about, that is all about axis spins, solo axis spins. It's for men and women, leads follows on 1 and on 2. It comes with coaching, so you get bi-weekly calls with me. Every 2 weeks, you will hop on a call, video call. You'll be sending your feedback forms. You'll be sending me videos of your progress, and I will analyze all of that and give you personalized assistance and tips and feedback throughout the program so that there's no chance of you being left behind or not understanding something. You have that one-to-one throughout the program. So that will be opening up in January or February. If you want to find out more details about the program, go to spins, spins.magnagopal.com, or just go to my website. You will see it in the courses and memberships. You can put your name into the waitlist, and I will let you know before I launch it to the general public. There are limited spaces available because it is a one-on-one commitment as well, and I don't have that much time. So make sure you put your name on the wait list and sign up as soon as it opens up. And then last announcement before we get into today's topic is, and of course, again, if you are joining, throw it into chat. I'm about to give you a shout out. There is going to be a specialty 4-week in-person workshop series that I'll be doing with somebody else, a guest instructor in New York City. It'll be a lead and follow workshop. Details to be announced, details to be confirmed, rather, and then announced. But I am keeping my fingers crossed that this goes through, and I'm really looking forward to it because it is going to be about the lead and follow dynamic, but not just about term patterns and not just about the fundamentals, but how to create as followers and how to adapt your dancing so that it is not just a repetition of moves that a lead does. You know, I was talking to this instructor and we talked about the way dances are perceived. You know, as a follower, you can have multiple different dances, right? I mean, we all can, but as a follower, depending on who you're dancing with, they might have a completely different repertoire of moves or a different repertoire of expression and how they interpret the music. But as a lead, you are typically limited to what you know. And so this workshop series is going to be all about how a follower can include and introduce something new to the dance, and how a lead can be open and feel where that dance is going and adapt to it. And through that adaptation, you now have a different dance than you could have ever had on your own. And I'm going to go into more of that. If this workshop series does get confirmed and we are on, I will have this person as a guest at either the next live chat in January or possibly the one in February, so that you guys get a chance to hear from him directly and his thoughts about the lead and follow dynamic. All right, couple of shout outs. Oh, Elias is from Iceland. Wow. I was going to guess that from your name. I'm not even going to attempt to say it just in case I totally mess it up. But that is one place that I have been dying to go, Iceland. Michael from Boston. Hello. JD from Hudson Valley. All right, cool. So if you are joining, please throw into chat where you're joining from. I like to know who's here and, of course, to give you a shout out as well. So let's get into today's topic. Responsible leadership. Right? What is the responsibility of teachers? And if you are here and you have any thoughts on that, I am curious what you think is the responsibility of teachers. The reason this has come up as a topic for me is because of an experience I had recently. And in general, I guess this topic is about instructors or leaders in their community, whatever it is, speaking about things, but not necessarily living up to them in their own actions. As instructors, maybe we are bothered by certain things that are happening in the community or happening in our classrooms with our students or with whoever's participating in our workshops. And instead of finding a way to address it, we are complaining about it amongst our own peers. And so nothing is really being done about it. The problem perpetuates because no one's addressing it, but it's just getting seen and it's being replicated basically over and over again. And we're getting more and more frustrated, but not actually taking any actions. And so today, what I want to talk about is some of the things that I have personally observed, the things that I have experienced, what the problem is, why I feel personally that it's a problem, and some of the steps that we can take to act more responsibly as leaders in our community. So I'm going to start with the first observation that I had, which was bachata central. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the dance, who have perhaps taken a class, maybe gone to a dance event where there's a room dedicated to it, or some portion of the night includes that as well. But this was an observation that I had of an instructor who was teaching in this class, and it was a lead and a follow, so a couple on stage, and they had an entire classroom of students. And when the follower was teaching, when she was demonstrating rather, um, she had a certain posture in her dance, and it was this incredibly arched back, like to the point where I wasn't even sure how she was standing straight. Like the chest was so arched forward that it was way ahead of the toes, and the butt is arched backwards. And it frankly to me looked quite uncomfortable. I mean, I was even standing there on the side and trying to do it myself. And maybe it's just my age and my lack of flexibility, that I don't have that flexibility in my back, that I wasn't able to accomplish the same. But this is how she was teaching. Now, throughout that workshop, there was no comment. There was nothing said about that posture. Everything that was addressed and everything that was broken down was about the movement. So, for example, the lead is saying, okay, put your hand on the follower's shoulder, and then she's going to roll her head under. And throughout this workshop, they were going through the movements, but nothing was being spoken about this posture. And I could see when I reflected on the students themselves, how many of the followers were trying to do this posture, but it wasn't getting broken down at any point. And of course, many of the students might have been nervous about asking a question, so no one actually asked that question either. And so, this for me was one element of where the leadership isn't present, where the teachers are doing something but not breaking those details down. And so you have a foundation to your dance, or at least the way you're demonstrating it and the way you are teaching it, but you're not actually explaining those details to your students. You are talking about all of these other elements that go on top of this posture that you're creating, but never breaking that down. Now, as for the posture itself, to me, yes, it looked uncomfortable, but to each his own, right? To each his or her own, to do whatever they want. However, I think as instructors, whatever you are doing, whatever your norm is, you need to take the time to break that down and explain not just the movements, but also the why behind the movements. So let's say for that particular posture, why should the back be arched? Well, followers, we are accentuating our bodies. And in that process of accentuating our bodies, we are creating this curve in our body so that we can do other things. Or we are starting from this extremely arched posture, so it's much easier to create a movement in the counter direction. And explaining that will allow your students to understand why that posture is present in your dancing as an instructor, to understand if it is necessary throughout their dance, and to possibly ask a question if, for example, they're not comfortable doing that or they're not capable of doing that. Again, like I said, personally, I don't have that great of a flexibility anymore in my body. I'm not stretching as much or doing back bends as much. And so I might want to know, like, do I have to do this posture to be able to dance this dance and look the same or to have the same level of comfort and expression that you do. So those are certain things that I feel personally don't get broken down and don't get explained. Another element was, and this was through kind of conversation, was this respect for each other, right? And when we get on the dance floor, and I'm going to speak to the bachata sensual community more here than salsa, because salsa as a dance doesn't really invite many moments of extreme intimacy, right? It is an intimate dance in terms of two people being connected physically in contact with each other and interpreting music together. That synchronicity, that connection is intimate, absolutely. But bachata sensual does take that intimacy to a completely different level, not just in the physical contact that is made between lead and follow, but also kind of the movements. I'm getting another audio issue here. Is everyone hearing me okay? I obviously can't get any feedback here, but if there's anything I can do to adjust this, I'm gonna try one thing. Hold on one second. I did slip this through my shirt, and so maybe it is my skin rubbing against the cord. So 1 second. I'm gonna how about my apologies, seriously. I hate having technical issues because all I want to do is just go into the topic. But does this sound all right? Would love to use my laptop mic, but it's absolutely garbage, and that's why I got an external microphone to make this work. Is it terrible or is it manageable? That is the question. Is it viable? Can we still get through today's live? Double check the audio settings here. This. Test. How does that sound? How are we? Are we good? Give me a thumbs up or yes, 100%, 20%. I see Elias, 20%. Damn. Okay, hold on 1 second. Audio. Damn. I hate when there's these issues. And just volume. Okay. How about now? Fingers crossed. Check. Elias is sad face. Charles is I hear you good. Wade, his volume is low. I know there's a lag. It's good with this part. Okay, all right. It's good. Much better. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. All right, going back to what I was saying about intimacy in this dance and intimacy as it applies to how we teach. And so this was something that I have observed so many times in workshops, especially when I'm about to teach and there's somebody teaching before me, and especially when they do the demos, right? This is another one of those moments where there are sometimes complaints. And I've heard this from many other dancers that say, well, hey, one of the things I don't like about the bachata room, to going in there and dancing, is because there a lot of people don't respect the boundaries, right? There's a lot of guys that really get way too close and too personal, or are doing things or touching me in ways that I don't feel comfortable. And likewise, I have leads say the same thing, like followers having their hand on the back of their head, which is quite an intimate position to be in. And that takes us back to responsible leadership, which is when I see the demos by instructors, of course, they are going to demonstrate in a way, fully go out, all out in their dancing, right? Just like salsa dancers do too, right? When we're doing a demo, we are not holding back or restrained. We are full energy, fully present in that demo. But with bachata, or at least bachata central, and what I've observed, most of the couples that are teaching are sometimes actual couples, like they are in a relationship. And so obviously there's going to be a different level of intimacy. There's going to be a different level of intimacy in the way they connect, in the way they speak, and definitely in the way that they dance. Now, if this is not spoken about every single time that they teach, well, what are your students taking away? Because I don't necessarily know the details. Maybe I just see, oh, Bachata Central workshop. I don't know the names of the instructors, don't know who they are. I walk into the class, I take the class, I watch the demo, I record the demo, or I review the demo. And now I'm looking at this and saying, okay, so as a follower, I need to make sure I get really up close and personal with the leader. That's how I'm going to look as good as this instructor. That's how I'm going to dance the way this instructor did. Or the lead is going to say, oh, I am allowed to make this kind of contact or get nose to nose with my follower because that's what this dance is about. And that is something personally that I don't think is being spoken about enough, right? That we are not breaking down, that we are not being responsible with our position of authority and leadership as instructors to talk about. And yes, maybe it does get repetitive because you're teaching hundreds of workshops through the year, but it still needs to be spoken because you are in a position of leadership. You're in a position to guide other people. And so I think there should always be a disclaimer that says, hey, folks, here are the moves that we taught you. This is the respectable way to do them. If you feel like you do not have rapport with your partner, if this is the first time you're meeting them or asking them to dance, or speaking with them or anything like that, if you haven't built that rapport, test the waters and see what's acceptable and be mindful of how your partner is responding to your touch. Touch is a very intimate thing. It is within our boundaries, our personal boundaries, and it needs to be discussed. Likewise, if you're doing a demo, before your demo and after your demo, speak to your personal relationship. Acknowledge that you have an intimate relationship that goes beyond the dance itself, and acknowledge that how intimate you are when you do a demo is not how intimate the dance must be for it to be a good dance, for it to be a connected dance. Because if I don't understand that and I don't know that you're a couple, I am going to misinterpret this dance. And I am going to take what I have seen, not just what I've learned, but also what I have seen and what I've observed, and take that as the norm. And that's how the community ends up feeling kind of creepy, based on what I've seen, what I've experienced, what I've heard from leads and from follows, that there's a lack of respect, a lack of personal boundaries, excessive contact. And that's because a lot of people walk out of the classroom and say, well, this is how I've seen it done, and I guess this is how I need to do it too. And I will actually give you guys a personal experience. I was at an event. It was a dance event with salsa, kizomba, bachata, everything was all in the same room. And I remember dancing with a guy. He had asked me a couple of times to dance bachata. I declined politely and told him, why not salsa instead? finally it was the last night, and he was saying, oh, come on, let's have a bachata. I said, sure. So we danced a bachata, and he did a move that I'm not sure how to demonstrate it here without touching the mics, but basically had the head on the hand on the shoulder, and then the girl goes under, and so he's now on this shoulder somehow. And instead of trailing down my arm, he trailed across my face, like physically touched my face. And my natural instinct was to smack his arm. Like, that was just what I felt, because I don't like people touching my face, and especially on the dance floor. Come on, guys. Like, we're dancing with so many people, sweaty hands, people using bathroom. Who knows if they've even washed their hands after the bathroom? Like, don't touch people's faces, personally. But he touched my face, and I, with my other hand, hit his arm pretty hard. And that was just my natural defensive reaction of somebody touching my face. And he got upset. He got upset, and he looked at me and he said, like, why did you do that? And my response was, don't ever touch my face. Like, I never gave you permission to do that. I don't know why you would think that that would be acceptable. And his response was, well, it's the dance. Where is this coming from? It's the dance, right? This is what I'm talking about. Somewhere along the lines, as instructors, we are failing our students and we are failing our community by not talking about these small but really big issues of respect and boundaries, right? This person legitimately thought that it was okay because that is what they've seen, that is what they've heard, that is what they have learned, and it is not acceptable. If you build a rapport, maybe, but even then, I mean, even if I know you really well, if you're my best friend and I've danced a million dances with you, I would still not find it acceptable for you to touch my face with dirty, sweaty hands. And that's what could be the sweat that you wiped off of my arm. I mean, I'm not trying to put my own sweat on my face either, right? So there are certain things that are not being discussed. And I feel like this is irresponsible leadership. As instructors, we have a responsibility to teach beyond moves. We are in a position to guide our community. We have to take that with some sense of accountability, that what this community turns into is partially our responsibility. And even if you're one person talking about that, it still makes a difference, because at least your students that walk out of that classroom will approach other people with a different level of respect and understand what is acceptable and unacceptable, and attempt to figure that out before they make moves like that. Any thoughts? Let me go into the comments. Any thoughts about what I'm speaking about right now? Have you experienced this? Have you danced other dances, or felt like your boundaries haven't been respected and someone just made an assumption that certain movements are okay just because that's what they've been taught? Have you been on the giving end of that? Have you learned something through direct communication from your instructor in the actual instruction, or through indirect communication in what they've demonstrated? Have you made an assumption about the dance, about what those boundaries are as a result of what you've seen or what you've learned? Let me just go into chat. Looking for listen in the car. One of the most things for instructors is to be welcoming and respectful. Yep. Face is a no-no on these socials. Yeah, I agree. Aline Truth. Mariusz hand clap. Communication channels are important for instructors and students. Yep, absolutely. The beauty of communication channels, as Charles is discussing here, is that they are open, and they are in a classroom. They're open. There's a lot that we can communicate back and forth, but we have to be willing to see that, one, they're open, and two, what we need to be communicating about. I'm going to take this to another level with salsa classes, because I'm not here to beat down our bachata sensual, or Charles talked about kizomba. We have to have this conversation a lot about respecting boundaries. And before I go into salsa classes, absolutely, the idea is having the conversation. The idea is to not leave this in the unspoken, in the assumed, in the I hope that they understand this. This is something that needs to be spoken about openly and directly. And if it has to feel uncomfortable, it has to feel uncomfortable, but it needs to be discussed, because it does impact the entire community and how other people feel beyond you. And even for those instructors, like I don't think that a follower or leader of one of these couples that is doing this demo super intimate, face to face, nose to nose, if they went on the dance floor and danced with somebody else, and that person was interacting with this guy's wife or this girl's husband with that level of intimacy, I tell you, there's probably going to be some conversation, some words to be had after that dance, because they would find that unacceptable. So why are they not talking about it? Why are we all not talking about it? Right? Salsa classes. Let's move to that for a second. With salsa classes, there are some different elements that sometimes come into play, and these are also unspoken messages, and sometimes they're even contradictory messages. We have a lot of instructors, leads especially, talking about the importance of respecting followers, of giving followers freedom, finding space for creativity, right? Opening, creating space for that follower's expression. But when we are in those workshops, the lead dominates all of the instruction. I'm not sure if you've been in classes like this yourselves. Throw it into chat if you have. But the lead dominates the instruction. The follower barely gets a word in, or the follower is just there to embellish whatever the leader has said, which is no different than the follower embellishing the dance with small hints of styling. And so there's a contradiction in the messaging. There's one thing being said about leaders and followers and making sure that you're open to the creative interpretation and expression of your partner, but then on stage you see the lead being dominant. And that is yet another thing that your students are taking away from the classroom. You want them to be open, but they're not seeing that. They're hearing it, but they're not seeing the alignment of your words and your actions. And so when they get on the dance floor, yes, they will remember some of the things that you taught them, but they're most likely going to remember what you showed through your general behavior, through your general attitude, through your general interaction. And so that's one place that I've seen, at least in the salsa community, where there's a discrepancy in what is being said and what is being asked of students to do on the dance floor, and how to connect with their partners, and how they themselves are conducting the class. Right? Again, I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, if you're even aware that you've seen it, if you've even taken the time to consciously reflect on what you've seen and how you've processed it. But it does impact our dancing, because we start to think that that's the norm. And then, of course, on the dance floor, you find less openness to this level of communication, less openness to a two-way street of communication between lead and follower. And I'm going to take it to one more example. But if you are joining now, I'll give another moment of shout out to wherever you're from. Let me know. I see Marius. Still can't remember. I keep forgetting where it's from. Throw it into chat with city, with country you're joining from. So I can be one more example that I'd like to give, and this is non-dance. This was actually from a presentation I had to give, and it was part of a speaker workshop series. And I had arrived early for it, as I always should know early going to that event. And there was the organizer of this event had organized a series of workshops for training their employees. And this is a big company, big name around the world. And the organizer set up this workshop. And the people that were present, so I was in the back of the room, just kind of waiting over there, and I see all of these people on their laptops. The speaker presenting the workshop is at the front of the room, giving the presentation, talking about things like maintaining attention, creating an environment, all of these details. But there are tons of people on their laptops. And you might think, okay, well, we're on their laptops to take notes. Well, all of the laptops that I saw were not in a note-taking app. They were in chats, they were looking at emails, they were looking at their calendars, they were doing anything but paying attention. And so this is yet another situation where leadership is failing. Leadership is failing the people that they are trying to serve. Because in this environment, the organizer of this event is hoping to improve their employees' performance, especially when it comes to public speaking. And yet, they have set up an environment that is not conducive to being fully present, to fully absorb the information that is coming from the speakers that they have hired. Because they're allowing this environment of people being distracted by their devices, by other commitments that they have, instead of saying, look, we're all paid to be here, okay? As part of this company, this is part of the company's training, so you don't have to worry about you not, this is on your own time and you're not getting paid. No, this is part of your work hours, your 9 to 5. You're getting paid and this is part of your training. I request that everybody, here's a notepad, here's a pen and a notepad. Everyone put your laptops away, put your phones away, and let's be fully present with our speaker to maximize what we can get from this experience. Because this training is not for us to just spend money on speakers. No, this training is for your development, for your professional development. But as an organizer, as a leader of that department, setting up those workshops, they fail to create the right environment for maximum. Any thoughts on, have you experienced this in any other situation in your life? We talked about the Central Center, we talked about social classes, we talked about workshops in general at work, especially training workshops that employers organize for their employees for professional development. I mean, I'm sure we could even see this in family dynamics, right? Like there are many families, we can perhaps speak from experience, where there's something spoken to a child, like I remember people talking about this child in more. Let's see. Maybe it's a StreamYard thing. I might literally have to just go live on YouTube going forward if this is an issue. Right? I cannot see this being an issue anywhere else. Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. Is the audio like cutting out, or is there a buzz or a hum? I mean, there are some noises outside. I'd say, and while my audio is not great. Hi, Angel from Brooklyn. I'm Hillary, Rockland County. Oh, Charles also talked about the, in the case of unequal class talk time, I wonder how much time is given to prepare a balanced class in the lesson plan. Great point. I am planning on touching on that too. Okay, so I think we're good, unless anyone is still finding some audio issues. Throw it into quasi audio. Have to invest in new mics again. That sound, that less fuzzy. Untangle these cords. honestly, there's so many devices out there, and I've tested a million things. I cannot seem to get it right. Ogre it seems to be very sensitive, and I am not moving. I swear. I'm trying my best not to touch anything around the mic or the cord. I think I'll have to invest in yet another mic. I think I've got like 7 microphones. um, is it better? If not, I'm trying to see if there's anything around here. Add on here, but when you touch the cord, it sounded a lot better for a second. Oh, maybe I need to. How's that? That's are all the cords plugged in? Oh, yes, they are. Thank you, Mr. Tech. Customer support. How does this sound? Is everything okay now? Boom, boom, boom. Test, test, test. Still sensitive. Not moving. Crap. Louder and still scratchy. Okay. What to do? What did I do first time? That lead instructor dominating the instruction also applies to full courses, not just workshops. Oh, absolutely, Lex. Yep. There. Going back to that point, I don't know how this sounds to everybody. Um, sorry. I might just need a new mic. Another new mic. Thoughts? Yes, the port is into my laptop. It's plugged in. I love this. Who are you? Thank you for your tech support here. Live tech support. Nope, not wireless. Plugged in. All right. If it sounds okay, let me know so I can continue. I don't want to keep Charles. I don't want to keep everyone on longer. There's still a few more points that I want to discuss here before we hop off, because I do want to talk about some of the solutions. Are we good? Okay, I'm going to continue. First, I want to mention Elias's comment about lead instructors dominating the instruction. Also applies to full courses, not just workshops. Absolutely. And again, that's one of those things where I feel we don't realize what we're communicating. And it's important for us to touch upon that. But the last point that I was talking about, even with parents, right? You have parents are always trying to bring the best to their children. They want you to step out into the world in a way that's respectful, that's empowered, that is confident, that is expressive and creative, and all of those details. And yet there might be behaviors between your parents where you're like, well, you're telling me not to get into a fight, but you're always fighting. And so what am I actually learning about conflict management and conflict resolution, right? There are a lot of ways that we can be inconsistent in what our words are saying and what our actions are saying. And that alignment does really need to exist. So the reason I would say that this is all a problem is because of the fact that students are learning much more than what you are breaking down. Right? As an instructor, yes, I come into class and I am saying certain things, but everything that I am presenting in my attitude, in my personality, in my posture, in my volume, in my tone, in my jokes, all of those details, those are things that they're also absorbing. And they're going to take those lessons and apply them into their own dancing, into their own actions in daily life. And so that's why this is a problem. That's why I wanted to discuss it, is because I think we all need to take responsibility for our leadership. We are in positions, especially when we are instructors or teachers or speakers or presenters or employers or managers, parents, or an older sibling or the friend that is in position to provide some kind of advice and guidance, right? These are all moments where we are in positions of leadership. We have a little bit of authority. Someone is looking to us for guidance. And if we don't take that responsibility beyond just answering a question, right, beyond just breaking down a movement, we are not being responsible leaders. So how can we be more responsible as leaders? One, are we aware of how we're showing up and what we're demonstrating? So timeliness, right? A lot of instructors talk about respect and yet might show up late. Our posture. I'll talk about timeliness first. I remember actually doing a workshop series in New Jersey, and it was a 4-week series, spins workshops. And the first day, and I don't teach workshops that often in person in New York or New Jersey. And the first day, everyone had instructions. I sent out emails in advance saying, please arrive by this time. Make sure that you've got 15 minutes to change your shoes and get ready so we can have an on-time start and we can maximize the time that we have together. And some people showed up late. Sure, there were some weather issues, and it was their first time maybe commuting to that particular studio. But after they arrived, stopped the class and told everyone, this is a matter of respect. And the way they've shown up to other classes, well, they're like, well, other instructors aren't so picky about this. I'm like, that's other instructors. And if that's how they want to conduct their classes, that's up to them. For me, you need to be here early to be on time. Being on time means you're already late. I'm sure we've heard that before in some setting, right? If you are on time, you are late. So really, you need to be early. And I explained it as it is a lack of respect. You are here, one, for yourself. You paid the money. Why wouldn't you maximize your hour or whatever duration of the class there is? Why wouldn't you maximize that time? Two, it is a disrespect to the instructor because they've already started their class. Maybe they were even waiting for you. Maybe you were the one person that wasn't there that was registered and they're waiting for you to start. So now you're delaying everything for the instructor too. Or you're coming in late once the instructor has already started and you have now interrupted the flow of the class. And the instructor now has to take some time. And then you are also disrupting the students who are there learning because it's very easy to get distracted. So if I'm a student in a classroom, the instructor is teaching and someone walks through the door, you don't think I'm going to turn around and look to see who that is. And now I've lost focus. Now I have to regain focus, but now I'm also curious. What is this person doing? Is this person actually taking this class? Oh, they're changing their shoes. Interesting shoes that they're wearing, right? It is a disrespect on so many levels. And so when I talk about it, the reason I talk about it is because the dance is not just about the moves that we do. It is about how we treat each other and how we show up. And that respect and timeliness and punctuality is something that I believe in because I think that way of showing respect to each other can then flow into other areas of your life too. Posture, right? How we're showing up. I've talked to many of my students. If you've ever been in my workshops, when I start breaking something down or I'm going on a philosophical deep dive of movement or connection or something like that, where you yourself as a student are not doing any type of movement, I've often said, don't stand with your weight in a hip. Don't stand with your hands in your pockets. Don't stand with your hands crossed across your chest because it's closed body language. It is lazy body language. It's resting body language. You are here to learn. Maximize your moment. Maximize your time here and maximize your ability to take in information by making sure your entire body is fully present. And that is displayed in your posture. Attitude. Another thing. If I came in talking down to everybody with my posture and air of arrogance, right? Like nose in the air and saying, oh, you guys are never going to be as good as me. Well, what does that actually communicate? Sure, the people will stay in the class to learn the moves, but what are they going to leave with? They'll leave with the moves that I taught and the attitude that a good instructor and a good dancer, a professional, has to have attitude. And I don't want people to do that. So I always try to be aware of how I'm showing up and making sure that my attitude and my energy and my vibe is warm, welcoming, inviting, humble, connected with people. So that you can see as a student that even though I'm here on the stage, even though I'm the instructor here, even though I'm the professional here, that I am just like you as a person, and I deserve respect and you deserve respect. I deserve kindness, you deserve kindness. I will not berate anybody. So those are some of the ways, one of the steps in kind of solving the challenges that we see in our students, in our community, is by espousing, right? Making sure that we step onto the stage in the limelight, whatever that is, whether it's with one person or 1,000, that we're always showing up in a way that we can say, yes, this is an example you can follow. Just a couple of comments here. All right, audio is much better. Thank you. Irina said, glad to see you again. I know you from Cluj from TSF. The topics you tackle helped me from an emotional point of view and give me confidence because I can better understand what dance means and I can be more attentive to myself and my partners. It's a kind of therapy from a small village in Romania. And that is beautiful. And that is actually a perfect example because, of course, I didn't go there to talk about that. I went there to teach some moves, right? I had classes that were designed to break down certain concepts and techniques in dance. And yet, if this is what one of my students is able to leave with, that it helped tackle some of the challenges that she's facing and that she felt more confident and understands what it means to be more attentive and connected to your partner, that is great. Because those are the hidden lessons that come from the way we communicate, the way we express ourselves, and the way we teach, and the way we just stand, the way we are present in any room, in any environment. Angel talked about organizing a performance birthday party, and it wasn't easy getting the music and promoting people to come. Not entirely sure that is on this topic, Angel. Maybe you want to rewrite that one so I can address it with regards to responsible leadership. All right, another way that we can be more responsible as leaders is not just reflecting on the dance, not just reflecting on improving our skills, our techniques, our own art form, and our teaching, but understanding that we need to reflect on the community as well. So what are the issues confronting our community? Like, how often are we asking that? Right, as instructors, and even for me, I'll speak from experience. When I first started dancing, all I was thinking was, oh, I know how to do this, so I'm going to go out and teach people how to do this. This is what people say I'm really good at, so I'm going to really figure that out, break that down, and that's going to be my workshop. Eventually, I started to assess the community. What is my community struggling with? Where do I feel the community could use some assistance? One of those places was the lead and follow dynamic. You know, there was a very one-sided approach to this relationship on the dance floor, and I believe that there should be a dual-sided approach, that both parties should have an interest in contributing and an ability to adapt to whatever their partner brings to the table. And so that became my focus. The other element of it was seeing people who started as they became better and better in the dance to build an attitude, right? To create an attitude in their dancing, or all of a sudden start to ostracize other people that were at a lower level of dance than them. And so that became another issue to me too. And so in my workshops, I talk about that. I talk about, you know, your level of skill is not reflected in the way you dress or the air that you carry and the attitude that you show other people. Your level of skill is in how you connect with other people. The better you get, in reality, means the better you can connect with anyone and everyone. You know, as beginner dancers, maybe we are only good at dancing and connecting with other beginners, but as intermediates, we should be able to connect with beginners and intermediate. As advanced, we should be able to connect with beginners, intermediate, and advanced. As professionals, well, hell, we should be able to connect with every bloody style of dance in person, right? That's what that's about. It's not about saying I'm too good to be connected with any of these people except my own. It's about saying I have reached this level that allows me to connect with everybody. And so I talk about those things because I started to see that as an issue in our community. So what are you as instructors or as leaders in your community, whatever that may be, and that could even be just as a lead and as a follow, right? You are in that relationship providing guidance about what this relationship means. So what do you see in the community, and what are the issues, and how would you tackle them? Then the next point is, are you exercising your leadership? Right now, you see what are some of the issues, how you might want to tackle them, but are you exercising your leadership? Sometimes we think that, well, this is the dance community at large, and there is a huge community. Let's talk about salsa, for example. I mean, it spans the entire globe. Every country, like I've been to 80 countries, and all of them, they dance salsa, and there's many more, right? In small towns, as Irina was saying, a small village in Romania, right? There are people that dance everywhere. So maybe as a leader, I'm thinking, well, I only have control over this small group that I'm in front of right now or in my city, and this is all I can do. And really, what impact is that going to have? Well, if you think of your leadership that way, of course, you're not going to want to take the steps to exercise it in a more powerful way. But if you think that every change you make, every change that you can contribute to, could contribute to a ripple effect of changes, positive changes down the road amongst many members of the community and then globally, well, all of a sudden you're going to feel more empowered to step out there and speak your truth, right? And to create a positive influence and a positive impact on the people in your community, because you understand that it's not just a one-to-one, it's always a one-to-one to many. That's how impact, influence, and effect go, right? And so there's this element of, you've got to understand you have a lot of power. Right? You have a lot of power, but with great power comes great responsibility, right? Spider-Man, or wherever that quote actually originates, right? Great power comes great responsibility. You have a lot of power as instructors, as leaders. And if you can acknowledge that power, you will most likely approach it in a more responsible way. And you will take those steps to effect change, no matter how small, because you understand that the impact is longer lasting and further reaching than you could have expected or imagined. Then there's also this element of, in terms of exercising our leadership, is where we communicate those issues. So we have a tendency to complain about a lot of stuff, right? Things happen, things we don't like, and we rarely go and address the issue head on with where the issue arises or where the issue exists. We tend to complain about it with other instructors, right? Sometimes I've been in discussions and conversations with other teachers who are like, well, students, yeah, they just don't understand. And my students, the followers are always complaining about the guys, and I wish guys wouldn't do this, and I wish the followers would pay more attention, or the leaders would be more respectful. I wish, right? And I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like this. But then when they come to teach in class, there's none of that information provided. Why not? This is your chance. You have a wish. You can actually make that happen now by addressing the issue and by bringing it to light, so that some people or whoever's there can understand that this could be an issue, because otherwise they've never even pondered it, right? So that's our responsibility, and exercising our leadership and exercising the authority that we have when we are in those moments, and in those environments. And then lastly is this element of, how do we manage and control our environments? How do we set up the people that we are leading for success? And it's not necessarily about changing somebody's mind in one instant, but it is about understanding that when you're leading something, that you have control over that environment. Whatever control you have, you want to exercise that control. Just like you want to exercise your leadership in terms of what you're delivering, you also want to exercise your control over what you have control over. So if your environment is that classroom environment, make sure that it is according to the standards that you believe in, and that it exemplifies what your principles are, what your values are. So, like I said before about timeliness, my classroom, my time, right? So if you're a student that signed up for my class, maybe you show up late for other people and you stroll in 5-10 minutes late and you think you can just carry on. Not with my workshops. I'm very clear and specific about that, especially maybe not so much at a Congress, because many things are back to back and you have to find your way to another room. But if you're signed up to a workshop with me directly, where you have advance notice, there's nothing happening before, well, then I do expect that time limits. And I explain in detail the element of respect that it entails when you do show up early, which is on time, right? Likewise, in workshops, there are many times that I have been in a workshop, you're waiting to teach the next one, and I see the instructor, they're speaking. I am maybe around the back or the side of the room. There are people having conversations over here, loud enough for me to feel like they're interfering with the attention that the students can give to the instructor. People are on their phones. There's so much distraction taking place. And even in my workshops, many times when I'm starting a workshop, especially if it's starting after another person, I always insist and request that anyone who's here from the previous workshop who's not staying for this workshop, please take their conversations outside. I have made those requests directly to instructors who are just teaching before me, because of course people want to take pictures, right? You're like, yeah, let's take a photo. And that when it's me finishing my workshop, I'm like, yes, let's take a photo. Let's run outside the room. I don't want to interrupt this instructor's class. But if I find instructors doing the same thing, I ask them. I say, hey guys, I'd like to start my class. Can you please do your photos outside? Does it sound rude? Well, it depends on if you were teaching. Would you want that? If you want me standing in the front of the room or to the side of the stage taking photos and disrupting your class, of course you wouldn't. So extending that respect to another instructor is the same. But that's part of setting up your environment for success, because I don't want my students to be distracted by these things that don't contribute to their learning and to their growth in that moment. And so I do have control over that environment. That is my room for that hour or whatever period of time I have it. That's my room. And so I'm going to make sure that that room is set up for success. So how are we exercising our control over our own environments so that we can provide the most responsible leadership to our students, to our participants? Just testing. Irina mentioned, how can you handle the situation when your authority is challenged as a leader? If you have a specific example, Irina, that would be great, or even just a sample example, that would be great. But if your authority is challenged, I guess it kind of comes down to how you show up and what people will come to expect of you. I haven't really had, in my personal experience, much issue with my authority being challenged. I have a lot of questions in class, which I welcome, I encourage all the time. If you have any questions about, why I'm doing something or how I'm doing something, I want those questions. But I haven't really had my authority challenged. Like, oh, it's not your position to tell. Never really had something like that happen ever. And I think the reason is because I'm not very inconsistent in who I am. When I teach with a certain persona, a certain attitude, a certain energy. When I dance with that same energy, that same attitude. When I'm present around people, whether I'm talking or just standing by myself, it's the same energy. So the people that tend to gravitate towards me, to wanting to be around me or to learning from me, whether it's a dance environment or a speaker workshop or anything like that, any type of presentation, tend to be people who have already understood that this is who this person is. She is a person that shows respect and equally demands respect. She is a person that doesn't have an unnecessary attitude. She has a positive outlook and is trying to bring that positive impact to everything she is doing and is here to empower me and everyone else around her. And that's what they feel. And so the challenge to the authority rarely exists because the people that are there understand my purpose because the purpose is consistent across the board. There's really nothing that I say that I don't do. There's nothing that I teach that I don't lead with by example. And so it doesn't come up as much. But if you do have an example that you'd like to share, I'd be glad to go into that. And then Elias, your point about, I do relate with the point about instructors sticking to I wish. I think that leading by example fixes most of the issues they bring up. Absolutely. Leading by example, but also understanding the importance of deliberate and direct communication. I cannot stress that part enough because there are just so many things, especially in dance, because it's not so much of it's not a spoken thing, right? It is a feeling, it is a movement, it is physical more than it is verbal. And for that reason, there are a lot of things that don't get spoken about because there's this understanding that, well, it's a movement, maybe you'll feel it, maybe you should understand it. But there are these things about respect, these things about boundaries, the things about attitude, how we show up to a learning environment, how we show up to a teaching environment, how we show up with our partners, with just general public around us. All of those details are things that are not part of the dance curriculum, unfortunately. They're not a move. They're not a pattern. They're not a shine. It's not styling. It's not a combination. But it is the foundation of this community. And if we don't take the time to discuss those details, to even talk about things that I've talked about many times, rejection, right? How do we deal with rejection? How do we ask somebody? How do we respect when we want something and when we don't want something? How do we communicate in a way that's kind? All of those things need to be spoken about, but they're not. And yet they are elements that are more present in a night out, especially of dancing, in a night out of dancing. Those elements are more present than the dance moves themselves. How we interact, how we communicate, how we receive information, how we react to whatever it is that we receive. So today's topic, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to discuss it, is because I did have this observation and I had a conversation with some bachata sensual instructors too, who were talking about, well, I wish our followers, I wish the leaders in this dance weren't so in your face and so touchy and so creepy. And, I always have my followers come to me and say, oh, I don't like dancing with this guy because of this and this and this. And I said, well, what have you done? How have you addressed this? Oh, well, I'm not sure what to say. One, as a follower, she's like, well, the lead is supposed to talk about this. I'm like, no, you are one of the instructors. You have an equal say. Why wouldn't you have an equal say? I mean, everything that the lead is doing is going to impact you as a follower, and the leads in the class will impact the followers as well. Well, of course you should say something, but I'm like, what are you saying? And she frankly did not know what to say, or that she had a chance to have a voice, or that she should have a voice, that she should speak about those things. And frankly, I said, if this is a problem, bring it up in every class. Talk about this in your classes. Talk about the respecting of people's personal space and boundaries, and the importance of building rapport and understanding what is a dance that's stemming from a relationship, an intimate relationship. What is a dance between two strangers? And how can that be different? And how should it perhaps be different? Like, talk about those things. Let your students ask you questions. Let students, as Irina said, maybe challenge whatever it is that you're saying, so that you can then go into it even deeper, so you can reflect even further. Because there are many things that, for me, I have learned as a result of bringing up an issue, so that someone could then ask a question to challenge it, or to figure out more, to understand it better, that forced me to reflect and improve my understanding, my personal understanding of that issue, so I could then be a better leader, so I could be a better guide to these people in my community, who I feel have entrusted me, at least for that time, or for those of you who are here or watching the replay, who have entrusted me with your time, your attention, your energy. I owe it to you to do my best at being responsible with what I put on the table, whether it's in words or in actions. So we're all we're all leaders in some capacity or another, right? It could be obvious: teachers, speakers, presenters, organizers, managers, parents. Or it could be less obvious, like your friends, your coworkers, right? Even random strangers on the street that are having a conversation with you, that are asking for something, right? There's leadership. There's moments for you to be a guide. How are you doing that? Where's your integrity? Are you consistent? Are you consistently aligned in your actions and your words? Right? Are you responsibly setting some type of standard and taking the time to communicate that? How good of a job are you doing, and how much responsibility are you taking for creating the environment and making it safe for other people's expression and growth and development? You have a lot of power. We all do. But it's, one, acknowledging that we have that power, that we are in positions of leadership and authority. Then that might fluctuate. Sometimes it's somebody else that we are looking to for leadership and guidance, and sometimes it's us. But one, we do have it. Two, we need to acknowledge it. We need to understand when it's taking place. And three, we need to be responsible with it, because you never know the ripple effect of what you do, what you say, what you don't say, and what you don't do. So I hope that we can all, approach learning, approach teaching, approach leadership from a more responsible place, so that we can contribute to building the communities that we want, instead of complaining about the problems in them, that we can actually take steps to effect change in the direction that we would like. Elias, within the classroom, yes, addressing issues directly and clearly is more valuable than extra patterns and content, 100%. And these soft skills are reinforced outside the classroom. That's where the verbal approach may be less effective. Yep. But many people start in the classroom. And so why not start in the classroom too, right? Yes, maybe they're not going to take these soft skills and discuss them all out of the classroom, out of the learning environment, but at least they had a chance to discuss it, hear it, to ponder it, so that it's in the mind. Because I feel like it's just not even in the mind, because it's never coming out. It's never spoken about. It's never communicated. And so we just go out there and do whatever we want to do and hope for the best, assume the best, and just kind of hide behind that and say, well, I was never told. And that's unfortunate, especially if somebody had an opportunity to tell you. And yes, we do have our own accountability, personal responsibility as learners in this world to try and understand things better. But when we go into a learning environment where we put our trust in somebody of a more experienced authority who's in a position of leadership, well, I hope that that leader provides me with those other nuances and those details that are not obvious so that I can be a better person. So I can be my best self in whatever area of life I'm walking into or I'm training in or I'm learning. That's the goal. Leading by example is the only option I see, or these kinds of live chats. Thank you, Elias. I appreciate that. And that's, like I said before, that is the purpose of these live chats. We do them once a month. We are on number 33 right now. We're almost at 3 years of live chats. And every time it's a different topic, and it really depends on what I get from you guys. If you take the time to complete the feedback form, magnagopal.com/feedback, or just go to my website, the contact page, I would appreciate that. Let me know what you thought. And if there are any other topics you want me to discuss, or if you have any other commentary that you maybe don't feel like putting publicly into a public chat, you can put that into the live chat. And of course, if it's something you want me to address, but you want to remain anonymous, by all means, add that in there too. And I will discuss that as a topic. And just to wrap up, don't forget all the courses plus 3 new master classes and soon to come musicality course is also going to be added to my website, magnagopal.com. You can find it in the courses membership section. The Mastery of Multiples program is going to reopen for enrollment January or early February at the latest. So you can get that program with coaching to find out more. Also available on my website. Everything is magnagopal.com, right? That will be starting soon. That is a 14-week program, bi-weekly coaching calls, one-on-one with me, where you're going to get feedback, personalized feedback throughout the program to make sure there's nothing that you are learning that you do not completely understand. And possible workshop series, 4-week workshop series coming up in February of next year with a guest instructor. If and when that is confirmed, I will let you all know. That should be a really fun workshop, which is going to be talking all about the lead and follow dynamics and how about how to create a symbiotic connection with your partner, where both are contributing to where that dance goes and how to adapt to each other as well. And of course, please don't forget to check out Empowered with Magna podcast, audio podcast. It is on Spotify, on Apple, on Google, Amazon Music, literally anywhere you listen to podcasts, you should be able to find it. If you do check it out, leave a comment, hit like, leave a rating. I would really appreciate it. I do all of this, obviously, because I want to talk about it. So it's partly, getting things off of my chest and sharing it. But I also do this mainly for all of you, right? These are lessons that I could have a conversation with a friend or a client and understand and discuss and say, okay, cool, I got it. And I'm going to continue on with my life and conduct myself in this manner. But I do this so that hopefully I can make a positive impact. Like I said, it just takes one person and then that person to another and to another. And that's how we change our community. So I do this for all of you. And I am always very thankful when you engage, when you leave comments. So I appreciate all of the comments and interaction in the chat today. And of course, easiest way to show your support is to hit subscribe. Check out the podcast, check out the YouTube channel, hit subscribe there. And if you feel extra generous, by all means, if you check the description, there's a link to buy a coffee, Ko-fi, Ko-fi. You can leave a donation to help support the channel in a financial way as well, which is all appreciated. But you being here, that means a lot. Subscribe, like, share with your friends, share with other instructors. I mean, that's where that's where we really need to get this message out to. And again, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Wednesday, rest of your week. Again, hopefully in January. Hopefully you'll be here too. But seeing you again for the warm wishes for the holidays and Happy New Year in advance. And thank you for engaging. I am very thankful for this career that I've built over these years. It's now going on 24 years. More than half of my life has been in this community. And I feel very privileged, to be able to get this opportunity to, one, reflect. I'm glad that I've taken that approach, leading by example and reflecting constantly and finding the lessons, the hidden lessons, but also this opportunity to share with all of you, with one of you. It really doesn't matter as long as at least one person gets something of benefit, something positive out of this, and you feel more empowered. That is the goal. So thank you for giving me that privilege of being here for all of you. All right, folks. I hope you all have a lovely day. Again, happy holidays, happy New Year in advance, and I will see you somewhere through social media or perhaps in person at a dance event or who knows what. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Marius. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Elias. Thank you for all of the comments. Really great comments in today's chat. And thank you, Irina. Irina, if you do have a specific example about the authority being challenged as a leader, shoot me a direct message even, and maybe I can dive into it in a future live chat or perhaps in the podcast, which is a little bit shorter and more concise. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. And always the challenge of getting out.